And we're very happy to have Jérome Edou coming to speak for us about painting. Jérome first came to Kathmandu in 1975 and so has been here with the likes of Matthew Kapstein and John Reynolds and many great authors. And like them, he has also produced a fair number of books in both English and French. The most pertinent, I think, for our studies is Machik Labdrön and the Foundations of chCod, which is an excellent introduction to both Machik Labdrön's life and the practice of chCod. And today he will be speaking about Chinese paintings. Please note, those of you who are here in person, we see some books in both French and English. They are for sale. If you're interested, you can speak to Jérôme. Otherwise, please have a look after the lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very happy to be here. As Daniel just mentioned, actually, I came here in 1975 for the consecration of this monastery. I went to Kopan because coming from Dharamsala, everybody told me you have to go to Kopan. There is a big course there. It's very nice. So I went to Kopan through the rice paddies, and actually I got lost. So finally I find my way, and when I arrived in Kopan, it was closed. There was 3 dogs, 2 old ladies, and an old monk, and they say nobody, all gone. Everybody was on a pilgrimage. So I turned back. I got lost again in the rice paddies, because at that time there was only 1 row of houses. Just going to Mahankal, you had to go through rice paddies and mud and everything. And then I arrived here, and then the Karmapa, the 16, was giving the Kagyu Ngadze, which is a big set of initiation in the Kagyu tradition. And I stayed there for 3 months with the Karmapa and seeing him every day. Tukinima Rinpoche was 21, was just a little boy. Shama Rinpoche, Situ Rinpoche, all the gang was there. And yeah, they were all very young. We were all very young. Anyway, long time ago, so I'm very happy to be back here. Things have changed and improved in all these years. I'm impressed by the Shedra. Congratulations, it's very nice. Okay, what we can say is, first of all, is asking why we are here. Why are we here is actually because somehow we believe there is a way to reach what we call enlightenment. There is a path which has been taught in many years ago, but this path is still lively and we can still follow this path. What it means that actually in the Mahayana school, to reach enlightenment, there is 2 ways, a junction of 2 means. One is tap in Tibetan, which is the means, upaya, and the other one is shirap, prajna, wisdom. Of course, in all the Mahayana school, wisdom is the same. The realization of emptiness is the same in all schools of Mahayana. Of course, only the means to reach enlightenment, the path, is different. Of course, in the Tibetan Buddhism, of course, it's always been said that the best way to reach enlightenment is a progressive stage. We all call it progressive stage of meditation and accumulation of merits and accumulation of wisdom. Okay. From China, in the 6th century, started another tradition called dhyana in Sanskrit, dhyana meaning samten in Tibetan, or meditation. And it was brought to China by probably a guy that would look like a sadhu that we see in a Pashupati, with a big beard, dark skin, you know, a bit scary for the Chinese probably. And this guy came and he started to teach, teaching something called dhyana, which actually in Chinese has been translated as Chan or Chana, and Zen, of course, in Japan, which went from China to Japan afterwards around the 13th century. So this Chan tradition was actually taught then by this Bodhidharma, and this Bodhidharma actually met the king eventually, because of course, at that time, each time you wanted to teach something, you have to be accredited by the king. So he went to see the king, and the king started telling him, you know, I built so many monasteries, I built so many stupas, I fed so many monks. What are my merits? No merits. Then he said, what is the ultimate truth? What is the ultimate truth? Vast emptiness, nothing holy. So that was the beginning of Chan, that was the beginning of Zen. Vast emptiness, nothing holy. What is important when he said nothing holy? It's always the attitude of the Chan and the Zen compared to the definition of the Tibetan that we all know. It's the attitude of nothing is sacred. Everything is just real as it is, simple as it is. What does that mean? What Bodhidharma was teaching, he was actually teaching what we call the stupidist way, or the immediate way, the shortcut, which is recognizing the nature of the mind, which is probably why we are all here, to recognize the nature of our mind, which in some sorts is called samadhi, and is called also Buddhahood. So what is the way, or what is the path in the tradition? We can say that the definition of Chan given by Bodhidharma was direct transmission outside of the scriptures, which penetrates directly human heart through contemplation of its own nature. Should I say it again? Probably. Okay. A direct transmission outside of all scriptures, texts, studies, anything, which penetrate directly to the human heart or mind. In Chinese, Xinjian will confirm, Xin is actually heart and mind. It's the same word. Through the contemplation of your own nature. Meaning that for Chan, the shortcut is actually directly contemplating the nature of the mind. We all have heard this teaching. My teacher was Khenpo Tsultrim Gyamtso. The last teaching he gave me, he said, observe your mind, nothing else. So Chan and Zen have stayed with this means of these techniques, this tap upaya, to reach enlightenment through, of course, meditation, which is sitting meditation, zazen, or sitting meditation. Okay. What is important when we talk about, I call this lecture, or my book also, Chan Mind Spiritual Painting. So Chan mind means Buddha mind. It means it's the mind of all sentient beings. Because the predicate in the Buddhist tradition is that all sentient beings are endowed with the Buddha nature. Meaning that Buddhahood is not something that we can reach, that we can acquire, is not something that we will get. It's not a flash of enlightenment. It's a realization of the nature of our own mind. And there is nothing else. Okay. Spiritual painting. Why are we talking about spiritual painting? It's important because there is a big mistake and a big confusion nowadays between everybody wants to be shamanistic, everybody wants to be animist, everybody wants to be religious, everybody wants to be spiritual, and everybody wants to be global. So in this approach, it's important to understand that religion and spirituality are not exactly the same thing. And very often the two words are actually taken one for the other. So a religion is something that which is made by human with norms, giving the idea that there is some superhuman order that is coming down on earth. Okay, the revelation. It's the same with the prophets in Islam, it's the same in Christianity with the revelation, with the prophets. Okay, in the spiritual experience, it's only the experience of your own mind. So it's like the finger and the moon. That's a very classical example, you know. Religion is probably the finger pointing out at the moon, okay? For me, spirituality is the moon, which is the realization. The problem is people tend to take the finger for the real thing. And then they stick to religion, they stick to superstition, they stick to what we call popular religion without going for the moon. So the finger and the moon, what Trungpa called entertain the message, don't entertain the messenger. In the Lojong, that was one of the best, what's really inspired me, this slogan, entertain the message, don't entertain the messenger. We don't have to be Tibetan, we don't have to be Japanese, we don't have to be Chinese, we can just be what we are, okay? Buddha nature is there for everybody, okay? So it's important to understand that at the end of the day, this spiritual realization has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with superpower or superhuman order. It's just the now consciousness. It's just the realization of emptiness. It's just the realization. The Hindus call that the big self, or Brahma. We can call it non-duality, infinite transcendental self, Buddha nature, the nature of the mind. Okay, so that's definitely the path of Chan tradition, cutting through scriptures, learning, rituals. You know, in the Tibetan tradition, we said there is four Sherabsum. There is four prajna, four wisdoms. One is to study, one is to reflect, and one is to meditate. Okay, in the Zen or the Chan tradition, we cut through that directly through sitting and watching the nature of the mind. So we have this spiritual path, okay, which is not religious, but it's a spiritual path, definitely. Okay, in terms of, if we talk about one thing which is important in this spiritual path is the same realization of emptiness that has been taught in all the school of Mahayana. What means emptiness? Okay, it's not something empty. We have two things. We have empty and we have ness. We have Shonya, Ta, we have Tongpa, Ni. Okay, sometimes I call it the emptitude. Like in the trees, when we paint trees, we don't try to paint trees, we try to paint treesitude. It means the quality of the void. Emptiness, the quality of the void. Talking about the void has no interest, it doesn't exist, it's void by definition. So this quality, what means the quality of the void is the non-existence of all phenomena. So realizing that all phenomena have no inherent existence. I mean, that's a very basic teaching, which is in all the tradition, whether Chan, Zen, Tibetan, okay. But it's interesting to see that in this emptiness, this approach of emptiness, I just quoted, found a quote from Niels Bohr, okay? Quantum physicians. Everything we call real are made of things that cannot be regarded as real. Then he continues, all the people who've been in first time in contact with the quantum physics, if they were not shocked, it's because they didn't understand. Okay, it's probably the same thing with emptiness. Okay, so in terms of art, if we talk now about painting, I like the quotation of Nietzsche, you know, which says, fortunately, we have art not to die from the truth. Truth, okay? World, things, real, everything is real, okay? Fortunately, we have art to not to die from truth. So this is the path of art. So another quote which I like is, art is born from constraints, okay, and dies from freedom. Meaning that when we talk about painting, and I've put a few paintings here, a few of my work, when we talk about painting, we are not talking about reproducing nature. We can take a beautiful picture, it will be much nicer, much faster, less trouble. So what we are talking about Chan art is non-conformity to the form. We don't try to replicate the form. If you see a few examples here, and I don't consider myself as a purely Chan painter, but I'm trying. We don't try to replicate the form, we try to replicate the spirit of the things, the spirit of the treeitude, the spirit of the floweritude, the rockitude, okay, or the rockness, if you prefer, the rockness or the seaness or the mountainness of the things. It means that we are not trying to replicate nature. We are not trying to try to get a real copy of nature. We are just trying to suggest the nature of these things. What means to suggest the nature of these things is the emptiness. There is nothing else. In the Heart Sutra, which is the basis of all Mahayana studies, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form. Emptiness is not to be found in the sky, even though in the painting, that's what we have to evoke emptiness. But emptiness is in the form. And if you look in some of the trays, especially with the boat, you will see that actually in the stroke itself, there is ink and void. So it's a joint emptiness and form. That's how we try to express, that's how the Chinese have taught us to express this emptiness and form in one stroke. Okay? So one of the Chinese saying, I'm sorry, it's a lot of saying, but it's actually, it works, maybe. Okay, one of the painter of yore, forgot his name, said, okay, mind shouldn't be empty and clear, okay? Without the slightest trace of dust, and the landscape will emerge from the depths of your soul. Again, mind should be empty and clear, and I think we all understand that, empty and clear, without the slightest trace of dust. And in Chinese, dust is called the dust of the world. That's how they call illusion, kleshas, emotions, and so on. They call it the dust of the world. Okay, so your mind should be empty and clear, free from the dust and the agitation and the willing and the I want and the this and that. And the landscape will emerge, in bracket, spontaneously, from the depth of your soul. Okay? So therefore, what are we trying to do in the Chan approach of painting is to express through visible ink and brush, to express through visible presence the invisible. So the idea means that if to be a good painter, they say you have to be a good person. It means that you have to have some kind of realization, and the more realization you have, the more you can transmit the spirit of things through your painting. Okay? It means also that the truth of the painting is not to be found in the image. It's not the image. We are not trying to reproduce. We can draw a nice dog and a little house and mountains and feel the full canvas. This is not the point. The point is to transmit a spiritual experience of the nature of your own mind. Therefore, they always say the most important part of painting is before painting. Meaning that in order to be able to express this nature of your mind, you have to enter into a state, putting your mind in clear and empty state, which I think for all of you practicing meditation, you know what we're talking about. When we do sadhanas in the Vajrayana, we say Tongpa ni dujur, Tongpe nang ne, and it goes back to emptiness. From the emptiness, rise the deity, okay? And the deity at the end goes back to emptiness. Yes?
Like a single stroke.
Sorry?
Like a single stroke.
Could be, yes, exactly. From the empty paper, the first stroke, that's why it's called the single brush stroke. The first stroke is actually from the emptiness, rise the deity.
continuum.
Yes, and then goes back to emptiness. Exactly like in the Vajrayana sadhana. Okay, so of course it depends. You can also take a brush and do anything. Okay, but idea is first to go into a state of meditation, to empty your mind, to clear your mind of any willing to do. That's the worst. The whole idea of this kind of painting is actually to cut the will to do something, to look for beauty, to look for a reward from the people, or to be able to sell your paintings and so on. All that is actually should really be removed. All this tradition of a Chan painting actually came from what we call the literati, which were very learned Chinese, very often very lettered and very good at calligraphy, and they were sometimes actually working for the administration, but they didn't want to be prisoner from the administration, so they wanted to have some good time, maybe sometime with a glass of wine, and taking the brush, writing poetry and writing paintings, because in any poetry there is a visible paint. No, it's the other way around. Okay, in any poetry, it's invisible poem, painting. In every painting, it's a visible poem. So in China, calligraphy, painting, and poetry is the same vehicle, let's call it. Okay? That's why it's actually quite important. Sometime in China, you start by doing a calligraphy before you can start doing paintings. Okay? And of course, that's why also, I haven't done it here, but in so many Chinese painting, you will see some calligraphy on the side. It means that sometime a poet, seeing your painting, will write a calligraphy, like maybe a haiku, or maybe a short poem, or maybe a little sentence, okay? And then the combination of poem, paintings, eventually a seal, and dedication. So all that makes the Chan painting. The seal is very important because the seal is actually back to reality, back to the red reality of a seal. Even though all the paintings is actually flying into between emptiness and form, okay, like clouds covering the mountains, and then the seal is the end, saying, okay, that's the end. And also it gives it's a little bit back to reality. Okay, so what are the characteristics of these paintings? Is suggestion, allusion, unfinished, empty space. Unfinished. Why? We don't have to tell the full story. We can just suggest the story. Once you have started to paint something, you don't have to put the little house and the people in the house and then the little mountains and behind the trees, or to go totally to abstraction with no object whatsoever. You try to keep a medium balance between abstractions and total naturalism. Okay? In that sense, this painting tradition is not profane, it's not naturalist, is not impressionist. We don't work with our impression, with moods, with states of mind. It's not religious painting. Most of the Buddhist schools have asked actually paintings, mostly to decorate the monasteries, to paint historical image, or yeah, just like edifying paintings, let's call. So Chan painting is neither profane, naturalist, impressionist, is not abstract, okay? There is still some kind of an object, but it's not religious painting. It's what we call spiritual painting, suggesting this reality, which is the Buddha nature in ourselves. Okay. So far, so good? When you have questions, you can really ask. So what is the attitude then of a painting? So we talk about suggestion, unfinished, empty space. Okay, it means that our painting is allusive and not descriptive. We don't have to describe the world, it's there, we can see it. It's an allusion, a suggestion of this emptiness and form. Form is emptiness. It's really an expression of the Heart Sutra. And if the painter can realize that and actualize that through his painting, then the spectators will have this same experience of emptiness by looking at the painting. So it's a transmission. Like François Cheng was saying that this painting doesn't figure, we don't represent. We don't defigure, which is a bit like a contemporary art, defiguring, whatever. Defiguring, we transfigure. Okay. So when we try to give the presence to this invisible, to this ephemeral nature of all phenomena, because all phenomena don't have any inherent existence. They are just like fleeting, appearing, impermanent, coming like bubbles on a lake, like lotus flowers and then disappear, like clouds masking the sky or masking the mountains behind. So this idea, there is a Zen saying which I like. It's make tea and leave. When we make tea, we don't make tea to drink it. We don't make tea to enjoy with friends. We don't make tea to drink it for any reason else than actually making tea. And when we leave without idea of a return, without coming back. We leave, meaning that when we are here now, we do what we do. You make tea and you leave. Without all this thinking and all the ideas and all the thing, oh, I would like to do tea because maybe and this and that, and then we are gone. We have lost the nature of the mind. Okay? Because the nature of the mind, as you all know, it's not in the thoughts. The first teaching of Bodhidharma, and you will recognize this tradition, in the first teaching of Bodhidharma, he said, observe your thoughts. As soon as you observe your thoughts, they will disappear. For me, it sounds a bit like Dzogchen and Mahamudra. We are not very far. And actually, there is a very nice book that I discovered very recently called Tibetan Zen. I'm not happy because the guy should have called it Tibetan Chan, but that's another story. But as you know, there is always this the opposition between the gradualist. Buddhahood is a very long, progressive way. You have to do, so many practice, so many accumulation of merits, build so many big monasteries and feed so many monks and so on, make so many offerings. This is a gradual path. And the other path is the subitist, immediate path, which is the approach of Chan and Zen. And in Tibet, it became a big problem. Meaning that at some time, the king, there was so much argument between the two schools or the two approach between subitist and gradualist, that actually the king, Trisong Detsen, I think it's the 8th century, decided to have a council in Samye, okay, where the two views could actually debate, like you're doing here probably, the Shedra, debate on the two topics. And of course, the Tibetan that we all follow, they said, oh, the Tibetan won. And actually, it was the Indian way, progressive stage, that actually progressive path that actually win the debate. And of course, the Chinese said, of course, the Chan won, okay? But actually, the Chan were sent back to Dunhuang, okay? And basically, they probably remain a bit more hidden into Mahamudra and Dzogchen approach. Radical Dzogchen and the Mahamudra approach, while actually the progressive stage or the progressive approach actually survived, probably because the king thought politically it was better to have people going around the stupa and doing mantras and making offerings to the people and building stupas and monastery. It was probably better than people just going by themselves, okay, and meditating by themselves, which was probably the motivation behind. So there is always this two approach. And in our painting, we have the same two approaches. We can do very progressive and detailed. We can tell the full story, okay? And making all the details, it's actually called gompi in Chinese. It's a bit the sacred approach of icon and of Thangka painting. In the Thangka painting, we are always surprised when we ask a Thangka painter how long it took you, to take this Thangka. Oh, about 6 months, something, And the guy has been there every single stroke, every single color for years and for months on end, to be able to make a sacred painting. Icon is the same tradition because they are only, in bracket, they are only a reproduction of prototypes. In Nepal, the Buddha, the Buddha statue, the Buddha, they date from the 12th century. It has not changed since the 12th century. Is the same Buddha with the same canon. You know the canvas to draw a Buddha. It dates from the 12th century. And you can see the best example in a Patan museum. You have this Buddha of the 12th century. It's exactly the same that we see every day being done in Patan today. Okay, so this is sacred art, and which is not, Chan painting is not sacred. Okay, the only connection that they have between sacred art and Chan painting or spiritual painting is that both are using very simple means to express this ultimate reality, to express this nature of the mind, to express what is invisible beyond the eyes. As the Little Prince would say, the main thing is beyond the eyes, okay? Or cannot be, is what I don't know what is the sentence exactly in English. Whatever, I should have it somewhere. Okay, anyway. I want the real sentence, sorry. Yeah, the main thing is invisible to the eyes. The main thing is invisible to the eyes. That's not Chan, is not Buddhist. Little Prince, okay? So this is actually what we are trying to transmit through this painting, which is actually called the non-doing. And as Tibetan have been really, the Tibetan tradition came from India, mixed with the local deities and cults, animism probably in Tibet. The Chan tradition actually melt into the Taoist bed because Taoism was there long before, okay? So a lot of Chan cultural approach is actually very close to Taoism, like the Tibetan approach is very close to Mahasiddha Vajrayana and practices like that, based on the ground deities and everything. Okay, so this this attitude of painting is working with what we call the non-doing. Non-doing doesn't mean that we are lolling on the sofa, waiting for things to happen. It means that we are just trying to be cut off from the will of doing something. So in our painting, the purpose is to find the shortest way between, as we said before, first meditation, and then as soon as you have the vision, you have the idea of something, which can come from an experience in nature, which can come from a picture that you have seen, it can come from anywhere, all of a sudden an image appears in your mind. And what the Chinese are saying, he said, once this picture is there, it's called a xie. As soon as you have this picture in your mind, take your brush and draw like an eagle will swoop on a prey. Swoop down on a prey. Okay, so you just take your brush and you go. Cutting the mantle, cutting the idea, that's what we call the non-doing. Okay, so non-doing, it's, cut the mantle, is we try to find the shortest way between our intuition and the brush. through the qi, which we haven't talked about yet. So before we talk about the qi, what the Chinese also are telling us is, if you want to paint a mountain, don't paint the mountain over there. Paint the mountain which is inside you. That's why I call this lecture, at the beginning, there is a mountain. Yes, at the beginning, all phenomena are real, but we don't go back into all that. This is the Zen saying, in the beginning, there is a mountain, in the middle, there is no more a mountain, and at the end, there is again a mountain. And for all of you, I think it sounds very clear between the first turning of the wheel, the second turning of the wheel, and the third turning of the wheel. At the beginning, everything is real, suffering is real, the world is real, the self is real, illusions, emotions, everything is real. Then, emptiness. There is no more a mountain. And then we have to go back to the world. And with this attitude of realization of emptiness, then compassion, non-dual compassion can come in. Non-dual compassion will arise naturally from this non-doing, from this empty state of mind. Okay, then natural compassion will come, because there is no will to do something. There is no definite idea of compassion. Compassion comes naturally. You are in harmony with all beings in the same way that you are in harmony with your brush and your painting. Okay. So interesting. The Chinese are saying, if you want to paint a mountain, so first become the mountains. If you want to paint a bamboo, first let the bamboo grow into you. And I don't know if you, maybe you know that Cézanne, Cézanne, the French painter of the beginning of the 20th century, he said, I am the conscious of the mountain. I am the conscious of the mountain I am the conscious of this mountain. This mountain thinks through me. Okay, so this guy actually spent maybe 10 years in front of the Sainte Victoire, which is a mountain in South France, and he spent 10 years painting this mountain again and again and again and again. And he said at the end, this mountain thinks through me. She's asking me to be her voice. Same idea than in China. If you want to paint a mountain, paint the mountain that is inside yourself. Okay? So just to be short, I don't want to take too much of your time, but okay, just 3 characteristics of the Chinese painting. The first is called the unique or the single brush stroke. So everything starts from a single brush stroke. When you have your empty paper, you start from the emptiness. You start from the chaos of the world. The Taoists will call that the chaos, the primordial chaos. So from the primordial chaos, you take some ink and you bring in life and order into the chaos. So that's the first single brush stroke. Okay? Simplicity. Why simplicity? Simplicity is actually the key of this painting, and that's what I'm trying to do in my work also. Simplicity means the primordial wisdom, yeshe, Rangjung yeshe, the self-arising wisdom is simple. It's unique and it's simple. It's not multiple. When you realize, when you meditate on what we call the unique flavor of all phenomena, okay, all phenomena are equal. They have the same flavor, rochik in Tibetan. So this, when you realize this nature of your mind, all phenomena just appear and disappear, and they have all the same taste. So the same way with our brush, we try to find this ultimate simplicity, which is the ultimate reality. Reality, the ultimate reality is not multiple. This is the dust of the world, as we said before. the ultimate reality is this simplicity, this emptiness nature of the mind. Brushstroke. The second one is the chi. Chi means prana in Sanskrit, or breath. I don't like breath in English. I think it feels a bit breath, but okay, whatever. Breath, prana. I prefer to say prana, or chi is actually good enough. Okay, what is the chi? The chi is the way to pass the energy from your first intuition or your first vision into your brush. Meaning that, okay, if you cut your mantle and you're there, said, oh, okay, I'm going to paint, la, la, la. Okay, this is not really the way we do it. The way we do it is first we meditate, we empty our mind, we clear our mind, our empty mind, from the dust of the world, and then the landscape can rise spontaneously from the brush. So this chi is between form and non-form. It's actually a link between emptiness and form, because it's not really formal, but it's not really empty. It still exists. So this energy that you concentrate in the hara, but we are not going to go into too much detail, but this idea is to get this energy directly flowing to the tip of your brush. That's why in the position, we don't paint like this, we don't paint like that, okay. We keep the position like in Zazen, like in meditation, and okay, we try to empty the mind. We have a vision of something, okay. And then we go with this energy. So it's important to keep the body in the right position, to keep the energy flowing between the mind or the vision and the brush. And the third one, of course, we talked a lot about, is emptiness. So emptiness is an aesthetical language. Here, the void in the Taoist is an aesthetical language to express this emptiness of all phenomena, which is the non-inherent existence of all phenomena. Okay. One thing also, when we talk about simplicity, one of the things which is always recommended is to paint with an economy of brush strokes. Less is more. Small is beautiful. We don't need to describe the full world. We just suggest by 2 strokes. You can ask Xinjiang about calligraphy. It's the same idea. Just 2 strokes. It's an evocation of this ultimate nature of all phenomena. Okay. Just a last little word, just to tell you that actually this in this painting there is also a little bit of humor. Why is that? Because like the Mahasiddha of India, once they have realized emptiness and then they see all the illusion and all the emotions and all the phenomena of the world like a dance, okay? Then the world starts to dance. And then there is some kind of humor. It's very joyful. It's the Dakini dance, and you probably know about that. The dance of the Dakini, which is actually this joy and it's fun to see, and actually it's fun, and sometimes it's also terrible because you see how beings are always recreating the causes of their own suffering. But this experience of emptiness, when you go back to the world, okay, then everything becomes like a play. The dance of the Dakini, Machik Labdrön, remember? Sure, okay. And that's what Trungpa called the crazy wisdom, because through this wisdom, then everything becomes like a dream. In a dream, of course, when we are dreaming, when we have a nightmare, no fun. Okay? Then all of a sudden we wake up. Okay, emptiness. Wow, yes. Then we go back to the dream. But then we know we're dreaming. It's quite different. At the beginning, there is a mountain. In the middle, there is no more a mountain. At the end, there is again a mountain. Thank you. If you want, I can do little demonstration.
Yes,
I
that
brought
would
all
be
my
fine.
stuff,
That would be fantastic.
if you have time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course, then from the first stroke, okay, which is a bit difficult, scary, but then from the first stroke, then it induced the second one. The second one induced the third, and you go on like that, okay? But the thing is, yeah, it's very difficult not to make too much. That's why we call it suggestion, allusivity or allusion, empty space. Normally the Chinese, what they say is like 2/3 of the page should be empty. Okay, so that's kind of an indication. But it's not really a rule. It's just a suggestion to be sure that we don't fill up the space too much. Okay, and of course, what is important when we paint, for example, mountains, okay, we leave some space between the background and the second ground and the foreground. We leave some space to give the feeling of distance. There is no perspective in Chinese painting. The different layers are the depth of the painting. Okay, so the mountains are far away. Okay, clack, clack, clack. Then there is empty space, which is sometimes clouds or mist, or Then there is eventually a second ground, okay, which can be a hill or something, and then eventually the viewpoint where you stand. What the Chinese are saying is that paint a painting a place where you would like to be. Okay, that doesn't answer your question at all. And that I cannot answer your question. The difficult thing is actually to stop, and I agree. And sometimes it's good just to go, how you call it? That's why we call it also a single brush stroke. Single brush stroke doesn't mean that we just do one single brush stroke, but it means that there is no remorse. There is no retouch. We don't go back to the painting. We don't leave it for tomorrow. We do it here, now. Okay. The classical question of people watching painting say, oh, how long it took you to do that? Okay, 10 years and 10 minutes. Gradualist and subitist. Immediate, but at the same time, you have to learn. But I agree, the difficult thing is always, it's better to stop before than after, if I can just say something. Probably one way.
Bruno, we do see you. We'll get to you in a moment. You wanna...
I want to add that I think human mind is complicated, like not the pure inners, but at the end of the day, for people, it's difficult to be simple. Like we are always searching for more and more.
That's what Picasso used to say. He said, when I started painting, I painted like Raphael. It took me a lifetime to be able to paint like a child, And he said, painting is just like Chinese, it has to be learned. So Picasso, so no Chinese, just so, and simplicity, they all say that simplicity is the most difficult thing, of course. Yes.
Would you have time for another question before the demonstration? Or
whatever.
We have one question from someone online, Bruno.
Yeah.
Would you like to unmute yourself?
Bruno? Hello, hello.
Bruno, we can't hear you. You're muted. There you are. Okay, that should work now.
Silence.
Nope, still can't hear. Sorry.
Okay, shall we try? Can you see on the screen, or you want to?
I can see
on the screen, you can see? Yeah. Okay, otherwise you can come closer if you want. Okay, so what I'm going to show you first is what we call the 3 inking. Because actually, as you notice, we don't have a palette. I have this, which can be some kind of a palette, but it's not really a palette. Okay, so my brush is actually my palette. So I have different kinds of tones, which I'm going to put on the brush to directly give the 3 tones inside the painting with one stroke. It's nothing magical. Huh? It's very technical. Don't worry. Okay, so here we are. Need a piece of paper. Yeah. So I've put water first. Then I put what I call the soup. Huh? The soup is some kind of delayed gray, grayish like that. Okay. And then I put some black. One of the great things of the painting is actually the smell of the ink that I love, but that's another story, isn't it? Okay. Okay, that's it. Those are my shoes because I'm just meditating behind the tree. A few brush strokes. Huh? Just a little instant. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Huh? And we have to be prepared. We don't care, we do again. Okay, I'll show you just something else or just try to give me one. Yeah, thank you. Keep that on the bench. Okay, I'll just want to show you another exercise. I mean, this is not an exercise. It's called the Enzo. Enzo is Japanese. And it's really, I mean, the Japanese, they are always ahead of everybody. They took everything from China and then they made it to their own way and they sold it back to China, so very clever and very good. So actually the Enzo means a circle in Japanese, okay? And you draw the circle in the same mind that we've been talking about, this no mind. So it's a bit more of a ritual. I will not do the full ritual. This is not really the point here. The point is just to show you how we can express, how the Japanese have expressed in the simplest of forms, emptiness and form, with a brush stroke and with the mental attitude, which is non-doing. So same idea. little soup. Take a bit more painting. So this one is really the non-doing, meaning that I'm trying to totally empty my mind of all idea of trying to do something, just trying to follow my brush, having a peripheric look, like whatever, Rigpa, whatever you call it, Mahamudra, whatever. Okay, trying to, don't focus on any object, not even focus on the circle. And I'm just going to try to do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that's what it is. Voilà. Merci. Thank you.
Jérôme, is there time to entertain a few more questions?
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Wonderful. Okay. We had a question from Bruno. You weren't able to ask. Would you like to try again now? Oh, unfortunately, we still can't hear you on the.
We can read on the lips.
Okay.
It's in French.
That's even better.
Yeah.
So the comment from Bruno is, je voulais juste faire un lien entre le vide et énergie à travers une citation de Chuang Tzu.
Le lien entre quoi? Énergie et?
Et vide.
Oui.
So I wanted to make a link between emptiness and energy through a citation from Chuang Tzu, but he doesn't give us our citation.
Ah. Okay.
So maybe we can ask him to type the citation and take another question in a while.
Yes, so we had, Jose, you had a question? Is that right?
Xinchen?
Oh, she did have a question. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Jeremy, for this wonderful, amazing lecture and demonstration. I just was seeing you, if that's doing,
Enzo?
trying that. Is the Chan painting a expression of one's realization, or is a method to realize one's mind?
It's actually both. I mean, it's that's actually Bodhidharma himself said there is two approach in Chan. There is a progressive approach and there is an immediate approach. Of course, you need to learn how to meditate. Of course, you need to learn how to use brush, paint, ink, and it takes a while to master that. So as I said before, you know, Picasso said Chinese painting is just like Chinese, it has to be learned. So there is a practice of learning, okay? But at the end, okay, once you, okay, it's difficult for me to say that, but the painting is the expression of the realization of the painter. And that's the main difference between philosophy. Okay, we all heard of Schopenhauer who actually killed his wife and so on. You know, somehow philosophy was somewhere thinking, playing with ideas, and all of a sudden there was a life and somewhere else. You know, it was two different things. Here, the painter and the person is the same. Okay, so we try to be totally, fully a person and totally, full meditation to be able to express this painting. But of course, there is learning. So the method is actually how to master ink. You know that very well. The brush, the ink, the space, everything. So that's, of course, has to be learned. But after that, it's just a spontaneous expression. Okay? That's why actually you see, it's a bit like the Mahasiddha. If you read the life of the Mahasiddha, it's the same, you know. I mean, Tilopa was actually, frying fish, you know, in front of Naropa. They were all Brahmins. So I mean, especially Tilopa was Brahmin. So everybody was kind of, out of his mind. And okay, So all this behavior, which is eccentric, which is unconventional, which is joyful, this is the path of the Mahasiddha, and this is the path of the painter, because you express your realization. And I'm not talking about myself, but you express this joy of the realization, whatever realization you have. If it's just understanding impermanence, okay, it's impermanence. If it's understanding karma and impermanence, both, you get both. If it's whatever. And you grow with your painting, and the painting grows with you, and it grows inside you at the same time that the realization of the understanding, whatever you call it, like Milarepa was saying, you know, Namshe Matong Yeshe Tong. Don't look at consciousness, look at wisdom, Yeshe. Semchen Matong Sangye Tong. Don't look at sentient beings, look at the Buddha. We are already Buddhas. We do. Chechen Matong, Cheni Tong. Don't look at phenomena, look at Cheni Dharmata, the essence. Okay? So that's what we're trying to do. And even if we don't see, but we pretend. And then somehow it grows. Okay?
So we have now the citation from Bruno. So it's in French. I will say it in French. It's a translation from.
I'll try.
From Bilter.
Oh, Bilter. Yes, Bilter. Yes.
Bilter.
Yeah.
So, unifie ton attention. N'écoute pas avec ton oreille, mais avec ton esprit.
Yes.
N'écoute pas avec ton esprit, mais avec ton énergie. Car l'oreille ne peut faire plus qu'écouter, l'esprit ne peut faire plus que reconnaître, tandis que l'énergie est un vide entièrement disponible. L'acte s'assemble dans ce vide, et ce vide est le jeûne de l'esprit.
Superbe. Merci Bruno, superbe. Ouais. Okay. That's something that is very Taoist. Is actually don't look with your eyes, look with your ears. Don't listen with your ears, listen with your eyes. So that's the spirit. It's so loud, so we say that. So meaning that here we have to be careful with the word esprit. Okay? When we talk about esprit, here is the agitated mind. The mind under illusion, under which the dreamer, the dreamer, the mountain is a mountain. So it's a dreamer mind. Okay, so first is don't see with your eyes, see with your mind. Okay, understanding, intellectual. In the painting, we try to cut this intellect. In Taoist and in Chan, or in Buddhism in general, in meditation, we try to cut the intellect. First we study, then we reflect, then we meditate. Sometimes we forget the third one. So important to first, you cut your vision. Okay, this is a cup, this is real, this is a cup. Okay, so you try to understand that this cup is empty. So it needs, as long as you are not a Buddha, it's not direct. They say that the Buddha has directly the view of reality, relative truth and absolute truth. For us, we still have to think, okay, wow, actually, this is empty. If I break it, it goes into pieces and so on. You know the story. So this is the second stage. The third stage is actually the chi, means only the subtle energy, okay, which is beyond the mental, beyond the illusion, beyond the thoughts. When thoughts arise, say Bodhidharma, said Lao Tzu, said Mahamudra, Dzogchen, all this teaching, when the thoughts arise, look at it, and it will disappear. The problem is we are always stuck, and each time we have a thought, we think it's me, and we identify with this thought. So if you look at the thought, they just come back, and then what is left? empty states of energy. And this chi is actually this energy that is there, which is not voluntarily, it's not something that we control, it's not something that we use at will, it's something which is there. And we just learn to get this energy into life, whatever we do, whether it's compassion, whether it's paintings, whether it's whatever we do, non-doing. Okay, non-doing is actually this energy, prana. Actually, we are born with the first breath, and we die with the last breath. So, breath, prana is life. Actually, it's probably very synonymous. Ça répond un peu, Bruno? Enfin, c'était pas une question d'ailleurs, c'était une citation. OK. Allez, une ou deux questions encore. Allez. One more questions, two.
Anybody else here?
Don't hesitate. I mean, yeah.
What do you do when frustrations arise? Like, this is not what I wanted to make. This is not what I had in mind. Do you redo it, or do you just let it be?
Normally you redo it. That's the good thing, because you see how long it took me to do this one. So I can redo about 20 in a day. So, and hopefully not the same. No, but no, that's true. It's very difficult to evaluate oneself. That's the key. That's why you need a teacher. That's why you need to train, because evaluation, otherwise we do something very nice and we put it on the wall. All the friends say, wow, it's very nice, it's beautiful. So we are very happy. And then all of a sudden we think that we have reached something. It's true for many things. Huh? So it's important to have a teacher who can actually evaluate the painting, huh? And say, okay, that's here, there is life. Here, there is a transmission. Here we see the spirit. Huh? Here is not only a technique that, your tree should be a bit like that, and this branch should be a bit differently. Okay, this is also part of the game, of the learning process, but this is not the point. The point is all of a sudden, through a painting, there is something that goes through it. And at the beginning, it's difficult to understand, because first of all, we like what we have been doing, and at the same time, we also don't like what we'll be doing, which is the same idea. It's still ego. Whether I like it or I don't like it is the same. It's still dualistic. Huh? Okay, so it's good to have a teacher who can say, okay, here, wow, there is something. Huh? So it's important to get into this process. So of course, yeah, for example, this painting, okay, I just did now like that. I can do another one tomorrow. Now that I have more or less this idea, either I can do the same or I can do a totally different one using the energy, but it, depends. Normally in China, they said you have to do 10 times one painting. First time, especially, but this is in the training, because you copy masters of all times. So you copy masters. So first you are really copying straight the exact copy. And even the best Chinese painters, forgot his name, whatever, very contemporary, huge one. The one who do the Lavi, don't shoot, huh? No, contemporary, just now, whatever. He actually
Zhaoqi.
was, no, not Zhaoqi. He's a big Chinese Songdu, well, whatever. He's actually copying old paintings even better than the old ones. So he was at the same time what we call in French a faussaire. I don't know how you say that in English, faussaire. I mean, fake, like the guy who making fake money. Huh? So he was very good at that. And at the same time, his paintings are amazing. So it's important to reproduce the paintings of the great master. That's a way of learning. But slowly, after 10, it becomes yours. So first you really go try to find exactly the same, la 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 la, and then slowly, then you try to get a different path, and then you try to do something different, and then slowly this painting becomes yours. Okay, but you've been inspired by the master first. Why not? Or it's just from your imagination. Then you go. Doesn't matter. But of course, the good thing, okay, paper is difficult to get in Nepal, but otherwise, I mean, ink, brush doesn't cost much, so you can practice. Let go, let go, let go. Like the Zen saying, open in the open.
Pour dire qu'on veut pas. Bonjour Jérôme. Nous sommes...
It's my sister, don't worry. Under control. Yes? On t'entend plus. On t'entend plus. On peut lire sur les lèvres, mais on t'entend plus. Bon, c'est pas très grave.
Comment? Donc, on aurait juste une petite question auquel tu as en partie répondu. Quel est l'état d'esprit dans lequel tu ne peux absolument pas peindre?
Ah, excellente question.
Thank you so much.
So the question is, what is the state of mind where you can absolutely not paint? Probably not many. Not many, because actually, when you're overwhelmed by an emotion, anger. Okay, you can use it in your painting. Okay, when you are really into a big, deep depression, sad, and so on, take the brush, use it. When you are very happy, joyful, everything is beautiful, do it. It's an expression of the state of your mind. Okay, so of course, sometimes you can really empty your mind and be in total openness, and it's perfect, and then it's really easy going, open in the open, wide, far away, simple. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's clumsy and that, and we have to do again. And okay, just a piece of paper. Ça va, ça répond? Ah, une autre sœur, a second sister. They had a family meeting or something.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's a family meeting. Est-ce que tu
Okay.
peux réexpliquer quand est-ce qu'on considère qu'une peinture est terminée?
Ah, same question, yes. The question is, when do you consider that the painting is finished? It's difficult to say. Yeah, but the seal is after it's finished. Because you cannot put a seal just like that. So you have to put a seal after it's finished. I cannot answer. Depends. The simplest, the better. That's always what you're looking for. I just did one painting that recently, just one stroke, a bench, empty bench, and a bird flying far away. Okay, it just happened like that, So, and of course, sometimes I said, oh, maybe I should put some more. Don't. And that's why it's important also no remorse, no retouch. Okay, and that's the key. That's maybe the key. Because you say, oh, wow, but these strokes, and this bird is crazy. Everything was so beautiful. And all of a sudden, okay, gone with the wind. Of course, the bird is always ugly at the end, because everything else is perfect. And of course, the last little touch. And then we try to say, oh, but maybe I should put a little something. Yeah, it will look finished. You are not in the mood. You are not in the single brush. You are not in the chi. You are not in the energy anymore. You are thinking. oh, I should make a little barrier and a little thing there, and maybe another tree there, and then a little guy, or then maybe climb, and then a little temple in the mountains. Yeah, there are a few trees, and then you're gone and gone. Okay, but the spirit is gone. The spirit is the one stroke. One stroke means one instant, one moment. When the moment is past, it's past. Forget. Simple. This is really. Ça va, ça répond? Ça répond plus. Okay.
So
One more. Yes.
Maybe I should read the citation in English, or just translated it so that
Yes. Okay, great.
speaking people could understand. So
Yeah.
the citation was, unify your attention. Do not listen with your ear, but with your mind. Do not listen with your mind, but with your energy. Because the ear cannot but hear, and the mind cannot but recognize. Energy is emptiness, fully available. Action unites with emptiness. And this is the emptiness of the fast of the mind.
Sorry, the last sentence?
This emptiness is the fast of the mind, the spirit of the mind.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to translate it too. So I was keep it in French. Yeah, great. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. So this is actually the three level, the seeing, thinking, intellectual thoughts, and then Chi, energy, emptiness, which is emptiness and action, emptiness and brush.
Sorry. Thank you, Jérôme. I have a question concerning about the calling Chan painting, because like enlightenment and art happen, of course, before Chan movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question, I mean, I don't know if it's a question or just a reflection, but it's like, what will determine that you
It's a
call
Chan.
it a Chan painting? Because for me, if I look poems and you've been talking about Lao Tzu and Taoism also, and painting from the previous periods, you have already the manifestation of emptiness and before. So where is the limit in a way?
I mean, okay, Chan painting, like a rose under another name will smell as good. Huh? It's just a name, okay? So I like to call it Chan painting, first of all, because people don't know what is Chan, so it's fine. So if you call it Zen, everybody is Zen. You know, my car is Zen and everybody is Zen, everything is Zen. So, okay. So Chan, I prefer people don't know. I could call it as the title of your seminar, called contemplative painting, which is fine with me. Meditative painting, why not? Why not? Okay. The thing is, it started with the literature of the Tang dynasty, which is 6 to 9, if I'm not confused. Is it? Yeah, 6 to 9. Yeah. So it started there because it was a mixture between the people who actually wanted to leave the academy and the court painting, where they had to paint exactly the same thing. When you see now Xi Jinping, you know, behind him, there is a huge painting. It's full. There is not one space of, not slight empty space. It's full. It's totally Chinese, but it's full, you know? Okay, so there is, you cannot breathe. Huh? It's kind of, okay. So this Chan understanding, and these people who were actually eccentric, they were totally cut off from this. I mean, not cut off from the society, but they wanted to be like a yogi. They wanted to find the nature of their mind. They were actually practicing, and they were actually leaving the world. Sometimes coming back because they were called as administrator in such and such administration. And then as soon as they were fired, because it happened very often, then they would run away, live in the mountains. So it has very much to do with, it's the same myth than the myth of Milarepa, of the yogi in the caves. It's the same idea. So it's all comes from this stream of thinking, stream of teaching, stream of history. Okay. Of course, you can say the parietal paintings of Lascaux in their simplicity is still amazing. When we look at that, we are still totally mind blown because it's simple. It doesn't tell the full story, it just suggests. Okay, so why not? But this ink brush, we have to give it back to the Chinese. It started there. Then he went to Japan in the 13th century. And it was funny because the Chinese thought that some of those paintings, you know, made like that and made very quickly and so on, they were very vulgar. And in China, vulgar is the worst of the worst. So the Japanese, when they came to bring back Chan to Japan in the 13th century, they brought some paintings at the same time, and even some painting teacher. And then they started their own tradition in the same stream than the Chan. So we can call it Zen painting, we can call it contemplative painting. Why not? But for me, it makes sense because it's really the prolongation of what I've been doing for 30 years. That's why I was so happy when I discovered that, because all of a sudden, I mean, your meditation and all your, you know, your practice and your teaching and your learning and the whole Buddhist path, all of a sudden, okay, you can express it and you can use it and it makes sense. It's the same. And then it's so fulfilling, yeah. And much more fun than prostrations, I must say. Which we all know.
Great. So I guess we could come to a close here. Oh, is there a question?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, please go on.
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much, Jérôme. This is a delight, absolute delight, to bring in the teachings, the profound teaching of Buddhist thought with this artistic expression. So this is such a delight, and I'm hoping that at Rangjung Yeshe we can actually promote and help this kind of translation, we could say, into experience. So this is absolutely delightful, and we're looking forward to your talk that is planned for the conference on the 28th of April at the end of the semester. Looking forward to that. So we'll have to contact you fairly soon after I arrive, and maybe we can talk and go for a meal together so we can talk face to face. So thank you again.
Yes, one-on-one.
One-on-one. And I think Olaf has something for you, so we'll let him come to you and do.
Yes,
thank you, Diane. It was a pleasure, and was also, as I said before, it was a pleasure to be back here. You know, after I've been in between, but you know, and I've been following Tukyi Nyima Rinpoche for now 40 years or something. So it's a long path, but very happy to be here. And whenever, I'll be happy to share. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye, la famille.